for you, man?
Well, some dark nights of the soul, I guess. From starting in childhood, man, I lost my sister Monica to a drunk driver when she was 19, and that just more or less destroyed our family. I was born and raised South Jersey, South Philadelphia. Typical large Irish Catholic family. Went to church every Sunday. I was an altar boy, and when my sister died, man, that destroyed our family, and it really tore us apart. So, when you're young, you don't teach kids how to, or you teach kids actually to compartmentalize back in the day, right? Push that stuff down, buck up, buttercup. So I pushed through life, and, I was raised on the Jersey Shore on the beach, and my parents instilled a service above self type of mentality and mindset. Loved this country, loved the ocean, loved flying. So that that Reese's peanut butter cup, it kind of turns into, since my earliest memories, I knew I wanted to be a carrier aviator. I wanted to fly fighter jets for the Navy. And then obviously Top Gun, the first one came out in 1986. I'm going to date myself. I was a junior in high school, and I knew that's what I wanted to do. And now all of a sudden, here comes 8 billion people who want to, fly for the Navy. Short story long, got in the Navy, somehow finagled my way into jets, finagled my way into fighters and Hornets, and then just had an absolute blast flying fighters for the Navy out on the West Coast. I was in CAG 11. And why is that significant? Because in the mid-90s, we were the first carrier air wing and aircraft carrier, the Abraham Lincoln, on the West Coast to have females. And the first female fighter pilot, Kara Holtgren, actually crashed in CAG 11, and she actually died. So that was kind of the first of 17 folks that I personally knew on active duty who are dead. Before we actually deployed on the Abraham Lincoln, we lost eight air crew in workups. I mean, crashes up in Fallon, crashes in Tennessee, crashes off the coast of San Diego. I mean, it was insane. And again, as an aviator, they teach you to compartmentalize, to push all those things down. You can't, if your wingman blows up, you'll get to mourn them later, go into the target and drop your bombs and fight your way out. Well, you don't get to mourn them later because somebody else dies, or it just keeps piling on and piling on. Plus, just as a fighter pilot, man, pulling G's, 7, 8, 9 G's for 15 years probably isn't good for your brain. And every landing aboard the aircraft carrier is technically a car crash. And every catapult shot, you're going from 0 to about 150, 175 miles an hour in a second and a half. So, kind of stirred, was just kind of carrying this cloud for most of my life. And then along the way, lost 3 F-18 brothers to suicide. One of them was the best man at my wedding, Eric Swenson, call sign Swede. Beautiful wife, 5 kids, but a bullet in his head. And I was like, it's too much. It's insane. And so I started a foundation years ago called TOPGUN Fighter Foundation to try and eliminate veterans suicide. We had to do something. 22 a day.
Crap. All right. Well, we'll make a note of it. Cameron, you got that timestamp? There we go.
Got it.
So Leigh, man, how did you get into this? Because if I remember right, you don't have a military background, do you?
No. And by the way, I'm just going to say that Whiz is phenomenal at picking right up at 22 a day, and that's a great way to pick my story up. I met Whiz, and I was really inspired by his story and his journey, on psychedelic medicine, and how it really led him to want to create a foundation to save lives. As a filmmaker, I represented one of those people that really had no idea that 22 veterans were committing suicide a day. I was shocked. I was appalled. I was taken back, and it really touched my heart. And I said I wanted to do something. I wanted to do something together. So, and this is the part, maybe we wait for him to jump back on, because this is
Well,
would be a
yeah,
good.
was it a chance encounter? Was it something you heard about and you pursued, or what? I'm always fascinated by those sort of connections that that really come to be and are made to be, but how they happened,
Yeah. Yeah. So I was introduced by a gentleman who was in Whiz's Top Gun options trading group. And he said, Leigh, he knew my background as a filmmaker, he knew my work, and he just thought, hey, this is, you guys should meet. He just had a feeling, because Whiz spoke often about his journey. He spoke often about his passion and desire to save lives and to eradicate veteran suicide. And so he put us together. And honestly, the minute that we met, I felt a spark. I felt led. I felt inspired by his story. I felt inspired by his foundation. And we just began a dialogue about what was our long and short-term goals. What could we do together, to scale this, to scale his charity. And we decided to be a media company to scale a charity. And we came up with the idea of No Fallen Heroes as a documentary film that would lead into a TV series. It's in our business, we call it a backdoor pilot to a TV series. And right off the bat, we said, hey, we've got Supersonics meet Psychedelics. It's a very commercial project. It's a very engaging, topic for audiences. It's extremely topical because we're in the Top Gun environment. And we set off on a journey to create magic, because at the end of the day, we are, what's unique about our project, there are celebrated documentaries that win awards and, and get recognized. And there are blockbuster films in Hollywood that make hundreds of millions of dollars. But our intention is to create a memorable film that elevates awareness, that changes the narrative and brings into focus this saving lives movement, with the ultimate objective to scale a charity and make a difference by having the resources to stand for change.
Awesome. So Whiz, you were touched not just internally, but you saw the external problem, which I think is something that's really, I'll call it unique. But that means there's more to this. You're not, well, first off, that means you ain't the only one, right? That's feeling it. There's
Correct.
others that are feeling it. And you have this, because you said it very early on, instilled by your parents, this desire to serve above self. Is that what really kind of started this project moving forward? Where's that at?
Yeah, that's definitely part of it, man. First of all, the hopelessness of it, right? When I realized that 22 veterans a day on average are killing themselves, essentially one per hour. I mean, and nobody, who's helping, and what are we doing, right? We're sending billions of dollars overseas to Ukraine, or we're doing all sorts of insane things, and we're not helping the women and men who kept us free. So it's a small part of, I wanted to be of service, and the larger part is just exasperation, is looking around and seeing just the absolute insanity of it, right? Because I've had my own kind of run-ins with the VA. There might be a good group of folks at the VA, but it's an absolute horror festival for most of the folks that I talk to. So, some poor young kid getting back from Afghanistan just being treated as a number in the VA system. It was insanity. So it was more frustration and a breaking point than wanting to be of service. I had to put the ladder down, man, and help out in any way I could. I mean, God blessed me with being able to trade and have a successful business and stuff like that. And I said, man, this is, I gotta help. I've got to find a way to help these folks. And then that's when
I got in touch with a veterans organization called VETS, Veterans Exploring Treatment Solutions, run by a former Navy SEAL and his wife, and they told me about this radical, plant medicine, this psychedelic assisted therapy that is saving SEALs' lives, operators' lives, and I'm like, what? Get out of here! Dug into it, poked around, and that was about 2 years ago, and they had told me up until that date they had sent approximately 450 Navy SEALs, Green Berets, Rangers, the Special Forces community, through this therapy, and not one negative reaction. Just about everybody had a life-changing or life-saving experience. And being skeptical me, I'm like, that's physically impossible. There's no way that's the truth. And they said, well, why don't you do the medicine? I'm like, they're like, what are you doing in a couple of weeks? I'm like, nothing. They're like, hey, you want to go to Mexico? We have a pretty eclectic group going. Marcus Luttrell, the lone survivor, and then Jared Taylor, one of the founders of Black Rifle Coffee, are going to do the medicine. I'm like, all right, man. I had no clue what I was getting in for. And we went down with another former SEAL, and then also a NFL player, guy who played he was an All-American at Iowa for 4 years, and then played for the Raiders and I think the Patriots for a little bit, for about 8 years, I think it is. Just horrible CTE. I mean, the guy just looked like death. So went down to Mexico, man. I thought, let me go south and hang out and do some drugs with some SEAls.
How bad could it be, right?
How bad could it be, man? That's like a good weekend. It was, to say it was life-changing is an absolute understatement. The best analogy I could give you is if you had a time machine and you grabbed a caveman and you dropped that caveman in like Times Square for like an hour, and then you brought that caveman back to his cave, there's no way in hell, first of all, that the words exist, or he couldn't even, you can't even explain what happened. On the medicine, and again, I used the term drugs at first because to prove a point, they're not drugs. This is actually medicine. This is plant medicine from the earth. I got to, it took 4 decades. 3.5 decades for me to heal from my sister. I saw my sister on the medicine, and it was incredible. It was the best experience of my life. My dad had dropped dead years ago of a heart attack. He died of a broken heart. My dad was never the same when he lost Monica. I saw my father and I saw Monica, and it was radical. It was radical healing. I was one with God. All the horrific things I had done in my life personally, all those dark moments of the soul, my failings as a man, as a husband, as a father, were wiped away by God, literally. But whatever word you want to use, again, I can't even name what it is. Truth, source, divine. I'll call it God, but it was absolutely incredible. And it was interesting because Marcus, it's half clinical. I mean, there's a cardiologist there, there's a doctor, there's 2 nurses. You're hooked up to an EKG. So it's half clinical, and then it's kind of half spiritual, man. It's just this beautiful place in Mexico. As Leigh would say, it's right out of Central Casting. I mean, it's just the house overlooking the Pacific. You feel the presence of the Holy Spirit in the house. It's incredible. But I'm lying. So you're all in the same room, right? And it sounded like Marcus and JT were getting cut in half by a saw for hours. I mean, it just sounded like they were going through hell. And the next day everybody was completely different. And I'm like, oh my God, you guys are right. Never been better. I'm like, it sounded like you were going through hell. They're like, we did. And that's exactly what we needed to do. So when I got home, man, I'm like, that's it. Let
me ask a question about that real quick,
yeah.
Because I'm just curious. So then basically you're re-experiencing it in your memories and then coming to terms with those events in your memories. Is that kind of a summation of it?
So my experience was, it literally felt like for 8, 12, first of all, it felt like forever, but it felt like God literally kind of had his arm around me, and it was like a camera, like life. And I would actually see different things that have happened in my life or things that I wasn't even at, from different perspectives. So God kind of walked me around and showed me different things, and explained things. And it's so hard to explain. But before there's a lot of work to do. Let me get this out of the way up front. This is not take a pill and you're healed. This is, when I did the medicine again for No Fallen Heroes for our documentary, I treated it as a combat flight. It's a workout. You do a couple briefs beforehand, because you have to go into the medicine with it. We say, what are your intentions? You need like 5 intentions for the medicine, and then also maybe 5 questions to ask. So one of the intentions, I went in, with the medicine, I said, God, show me what's the hopefully last quarter of my life look. And it mapped it out. And this was it. Because when I got home, man, it was, I was a drinker. I mean, I'm Irish, unfortunately. I would drink before. And the ibogaine literally went in, and it scrubs your mind and your soul and everything. I didn't even look at a drink for about 8-9 months. And even now, maybe a glass of cab with steak again, but it completely went in and deleted. Hell, I'm a coffee fiend. I didn't have coffee for it control alt deleted everything. Marcus actually showed his, I wish I had done this. I forgot to do it the second time, but he showed me his VA brain scan. And Marcus Capone was a breacher, so he was the first guy in. Just horrible. So his brain scan from the VA was like dark gray, black, and 5 months, 3 or 4, whatever it was, months after the medicine, it was completely white. It was completely white. So when I got back, I said, I'm done. This is exactly what I'm doing for the rest of my life. It saved my life. It changed my life. I didn't even think I was kind of, that close to the edge, but man, everybody has trauma. And Leigh came up on heroes, because as you know, Otis, we would never, you're not a hero.
Yeah.
You don't refer to yourself as a hero, but guess what? You're a hero to somebody. You're a hero to somebody. So No Fallen Heroes means everybody can heal, right? There's a great quote by a Buddhist monk. His name is Thich Nhat Hanh, and I'll goon it up, but it's a beautiful quote about. He talks about veterans being the light at the tip of the candle. If these men and women who have seen such horrors can show us the way towards peace and healing, then maybe the rest of us, never have to use war ever again. So came back and said, this is the rest of my life, and this is what I'm going to do. And then one of my members at Top Gun Options had reached out. He knew Leigh. He briefed Leigh on the project, and Leigh being a filmmaker, he and I met, and he said, man, I got to document this. This will blow the world away. I didn't think it was anything special. I was just kind of doing it. So that's when Leigh came on board, and we went down again with 4 other aviators and air crew to Mexico and did the medicine. Man, just what an incredible group of guys. One guy, Slider, F-14 Tomcat guy, cleared hot on what he thought was bad guys in Iraq, and they ended up dropping on 12 Iraqi policemen and killing them. That dude that completely destroyed him. Drugs, alcohol. We have another guy, Doug DeStasso, MC-130 pilot, unstrapped from the left seat to go check something out in the back, and they dodged something, and they bounced him off the ceiling and broke his neck. And when they put him in the VA system, they turned him into a drug addict on benzos and everything. So I went down there with my 4 brothers, and Leigh brought the film crew, and here we are. So great day yesterday, as a matter of fact, because Dan Crenshaw got on the floor of the House and said, hey, I can't believe I'm about to say this, but we need to legalize psychedelic assisted therapy for veterans. And he is Mr. Anti-drug.
Yeah, he is.
Back in November, I was out in San Diego and saw Governor Perry. Rick Perry ran for president, governor of Texas. He sat on that stage and he said, "Hey, 5 years ago, if I had seen me advocating for this, I would have kicked my own." But he's like, "Nope, those days are over with, man." So we have this unifying issue. I mean, AOC's on board with it. Now we got Matt Gaetz and Dan Crenshaw. So the wheels are starting to turn slowly up at the VA and maybe Uncle Sam, that we can start, because it's a disgrace. I mean, on average, it's about $5,000 to take a female down to Mexico for treatment. And that's not an insignificant amount of money, especially if you're a young guy or gal that just got out, man. That's a lot of money. But the fact that we're sending SEALs fighter pilots to Mexico or Costa Rica to heal themselves is a fucking national disgrace and tragedy. And we're going to change it. And that's what we hope our No Fallen Heroes documentary does.
Well, you said something I just want to touch on, and I find this a powerful thing. And I don't remember. I'm going to screw up the quote worse than you are. I'm doing my candle symbol here. But that light, how the warrior is pulling. If you think about the military throughout history, we've been the ones who led that. we were leading the change.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And this right here, what you're talking about, I think is part of that continuation of service and continuation of leading that change, making the difference, taking the risk in a different way, and showing that this is a viable solution, this is a viable option, as opposed to, here, try this cocktail, try that cocktail. And I'm talking about the prescription ones, not the ones that are in your liquor cabinet. So
correct. Yeah. And and Marcus had told me, when he was showing me his brain scan pictures, he's like, by the way, I was on 10 meds from the VA. Take these 3 when you get up, take these 4 at lunch, take these to go to bed. So, imagine big pharma, 1 weekend in Mexico with some solid integration on the back end of it, and you're healed forever. Because it's interesting, because big pharma right now is shockingly talking out of both sides of their mouth. They're kind of publicly poo-pooing all of this. But I spoke down in the Miami Psychedelic Capital Conference, and they're all down there. They are trying to get in here as fast as possible. But God's pretty smart, if you didn't know. God's pretty smart, because guess what? You can't patent a mushroom or psilocybin. You can't patent ibogaine or iboga, which is a root from Central Africa. They can try and grab a lot of stuff that's around that, but as far as those things, you can't. God owns them, and leave it to man. God puts this stuff on our planet to heal us, and man makes it illegal. There's a great Netflix series that just came out on Tuesday called How to Change Your Mind. And it really goes into how, hey man, the war on drugs and the 60s and, Nixon, typical Republicans, man, the anti-war left and African-Americans, we're going to tar you with stuff is crazy and you're subversive. The fact that ibogaine or psilocybin is a Schedule 1 drug. The actual definition is no therapeutic use and high risk of addiction. No therapeutic use. I'm here to tell you, Marcus Luttrell, we're all here to tell you it saved or changed our life. And it is actually anti-addictive. Again, God's a pretty good chemist, because the more you take of this stuff, the less effective it is. It's not like, cocaine or heroin, you get hooked. That ibogaine journey was a 12-hour ass kicking. I do not want to do that, man. I'm good. So it's actually anti-addictive. So, the wheels are turning slowly, but Leigh and I, when we got together, it's like, hey, so Maverick, 36 years later, here comes Tom and the franchise. What a golden moment. And Paramount spent, I don't know, Leigh knows better than I do, $150 million ish just marketing this. So we're actually calling ourselves the self-proclaimed sequel to Maverick, right? Because one of my podcasts, I actually slipped Pete Mitchell, Maverick, in the middle. Like I was telling, I was briefing the guys that were going to Mexico for our documentary. And right in the middle, I read, hey, this guy, his dad got shot down over Vietnam. He thought his dad was a failure. He thinks he killed his best friend. He's actually killed some guys in combat. I read all of it. I'm like, guess who that is? That's Mav. That's Pete Mitchell. He's a fictional character, but he'd be a perfect guy, the perfect candidate to do this medicine. Hell, his call sign's Maverick. He'd get on his motorcycle and zip off down to Mexico to get healed anyway, because it's radical healing. So this really is, for us, we believe, a God moment. He punted Maverick a year and a half ago because of COVID and stuff like that. So the fact that Paramount just launched this and we're doing our documentary right now, we want to strike while the iron's hot. I mean, I think one of my best friends, Ferg, was the technical advisor for Maverick. And they flew in the back seats, and good on them for that stuff, but they're actors. At the end of the day, and no fallen heroes, you're going to see real aircrew. I graduated from Top Gun. I was an adversary, instructor when I graduated from Top Gun, man. And we're real. So we want to capitalize on this and show that this is healing is possible. Real quick though, I'm not here to push this, right? I thought this was kind of a ridiculous statement before I did the medicine, but I absolutely believe this right now. The medicine calls to you, right? You can heal by meditation, by yoga, by breath work. You can climb the top of a mountain for a week. There are so many ways to get healing. But for Navy SEALs, Navy fighter pilots, kind of radical folks, man, this is, it is definitely not for the faint of heart, because it is a lot of work. Like I was talking about, I trained for this: diet, mind, meditate. And then afterwards is the most important part of medicine work, is the integration. You have got to talk. We have integration counselors, and you have to stay on it, because I'm going to tell you, they mapped it out perfectly. 90 days after the medicine, here's what happened to me. The first 30 days, they call it the pink cloud phase. I'm walking around crying because, I'm staring at a tree, because it's just, you literally, with a scrubbed brain, you see everything as if you're a child again. Just, I'm sitting at a stoplight crying because the light's beautiful, type of thing. It's so cool. With your family and your friends, and everybody sees the change, trust me. But the next 30 days, the 30 to 60, kind of sucked for me, to be honest with you, because it's kind of a letdown. You're like, why isn't everybody happy? Why didn't, people haven't seen what I've seen? Why are there homeless people? Why are there wars? I mean, this is insane. So there were some low points in my integration, but then the last 30 days, the 60 to 90, you find your happy medium. But this is not, this is definitely not, to be taken lightly. This is definitely an ass kicking. So if you're interested, we have a lot of resources to hook you up with, but, because right now this is, I hate to say this is starting to get popular. I'm glad to say that this is getting popular because people want to heal and get better. Great. But I don't want this to turn into some sort of, first of all, it's not a fad. It's been around for thousands of years. But this whole psychedelic tourism, or the, trying to Starbucks this or McDonald's this. Because actually down at that conference in Miami, they were like, well, we can make the journeys quicker and you can do it in 1 hour in a office. I'm like, whoa, you're starting to take some of the sacredness out of this thing. A great book that I finished recently is called The Immortality Key. And this guy goes, psychedelics have been, they were before Christianity, the Greeks and Elysius with the Soma wine and all sorts of stuff like that. So this ain't new. We just kind of, in the 50s and 60s, we were doing some great research on this, and then boom, war on drugs, Nixon, and then here we go again. So we're starting to come out of the dark ages of this, but do not take this lightly, man. This is definitely it is a combat mission, but guess what? The end result, absolutely worth it. Again, knock on wood. I've heard of a couple guys going a couple times, or with severe addiction issues or whatever, but out of the hundreds and hundreds that I know of that have done this treatment, nothing bad. I mean, if anything, almost to a man or a woman, it saved and changed my life. And we're talking about folks that were I mean, Slider in our movie, he's like, Whiz, I don't know how many times I had a gun in my mouth. And he's just a completely changed human being. One thing I really want to get out here is because Leigh did a great job right at the beginning. He's like, hey, no offense, you guys are a bunch of white dudes. How about some diversity? I'm like, great idea. So I picked up the phone and I called a couple females that I flew Hornets with. And they're like, hey, Whiz, yeah, that'd be great, man, to heal our PTSD. I'm like, awesome. They're like, yeah, it ain't from combat. It's from rape and sexual assault. And I was like, holy shit, man.
Yeah, that would have blown my mind too.
I kicked over that rock and they're like, hey, it's all good, but why don't you guys go first and then we'll be right behind you. So the good part of this is we currently have 4 fighter pilot female veterans in a holding pattern wanting to go do the medicine. So I'll turn it over to Leigh. He can kind of map out the TV series we're thinking about, but this is not we put the ladder down to our female squadron mates, and 4 of them, 3 F-15 ladies and F-16, the first female F-16 pilot who just retired from Southwest as a captain. She's like I said, the medicine calls to you. So we at a minimum have at least 3 to 4 female fighter pilots that we want to show. Because no offense to the SEALs, but there ain't too many women in the Navy Special Warfare. So it's been like 500, 600 guys that have done the medicine. So now we're starting to put the ladder down. My wife actually did it though. She went with a couple other Navy SEAL wives, so spouses are doing it. Matter of fact, University of Texas in Austin, the Dell School of Medicine has a psychedelic branch, and they are doing I think it's a psilocybin study right now with Gold Star wives. They're doing the treatment.
The female component is really, really going to be an important part, a very, very important part of balance. One of the things that Whiz said that is so important is that, there's many ways to create the transformation you want in your life. From if you're dealing with PTSD, anxiety, suicidal ideation, you're just suffering and you need a way out. And so, this is, our film just happens to be the story of this specific scenario and this specific alternative. But there will be experts and people and other people in this film that will talk about having similar experiences, fascinatingly, in conjunction with this. A lot of people, Whiz was on a journey of transformation and healing way before he found the medicine. And so, it calls to you because you begin to realize this isn't working. I'm in pain, I'm suffering. And he began a journey in yoga. He began a journey in meditation. He just didn't wake up one day and go, hey, I'm just going to go to Mexico. He was ready. This is a very spiritual movie. And one of the reasons why I fell in love with this project was his passion, his story, the authenticity that was associated with it. I saw the vision for how we could make a difference. And I absolutely saw this as a character-driven story of fighter pilots that were literally going on the most dangerous mission they had ever embarked upon, which you guys both know, because you're all about tribes, you're all about inner journey, you're all about coming together. The most dangerous mission of all, Whiz will confer, he'll concur. The most dangerous mission he ever went on, and the people in our movie went on, is the mission within. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm actually going to look at myself. I'm actually going to go on this journey. And, as he started to describe this, and you will see this in the trailer of what happened, I thought to myself, people need to see and experience what happens when people are on psychedelics from the point of view of their consciousness. His description of it, and you'll see it in the trailer, it has mesmerized thousands of people I've already shown this trailer to. And it really reads kind of like a special effects breakdown for a Hollywood movie. And I think the more commercial the project can be, while it stays true to the mission of what is this movie really about? Okay, it's about ending veteran suicide. It's about saving lives. It's about bringing veterans into focus of the way they serve our country and the way they're cast aside and when they come back. And it's also about something that is creating instantaneous healing that needs to be available now. And guess what? How about legal in this country? How about affordable? How about covered by healthcare? So, the whole idea of no fallen heroes, when Whiz and I got together, we were like, we want to transcend just the military, but the military has to lead the way, right? We want to stand for, because he was right, what he was saying earlier, these guys don't think of themselves as heroes. They served their country. They knew what they were doing. They took the risk. It's uncanny. Not one of these 5 pilots who I look up to and go, are you kidding me? Every time you took off and landed on an aircraft carrier, you could die. Like, are you kidding me? Yeah, well, that's just the job. You're a hero to me. They don't see themselves that way. But the reason the movie is called No Fallen Heroes is because you, Otis, you, Cam, everybody in their life is their hero. They're on their own hero's journey. And everybody deserves to reach out for help if they're suffering at any level. And if people come away from this movie, from this movement, feeling that, we have accomplished our goal.
I think one of the really interesting things that y'all have touched on in some different areas is that, you talk about the stigma around psychedelics and, the interesting history of the definition of the word drugs. Like, Whiz, you use drug addict to define somebody on antidepressants and different things. Those work for some people, but there's other things that don't. And I think that is the important understanding, that these things are a piece of medicine that can be just as effective or ineffective for other people out there. There's people who are drinking 15 cups of coffee a day and driving themselves crazy and hurting their heart because they're doing that. There's also people who use a cup of coffee to get going in the morning and they are perfect with it. It's
one
not
of the
going to
phrases, one of the things I want to say, I didn't mean to cut you off, and then please, you're on a roll. From the very beginning, Wiz and I agreed, it's called collaboration, not competition. We are in collaboration with anything and everything. It's happening in a person's life that is bringing them to transformation, enlightenment, God. We're not afraid to say God. This is a spiritual movement, but to have the greatest possible life they could have. That's what we're standing for. And I didn't mean to cut you off, but you're absolutely you're on to something here.
Yeah. And, it makes me think, I had a good friend of mine who here in Arizona was a medicinal marijuana caregiver. And I talked with him a bunch about, the patients that he would work with and different things. And one of the things he would talk about all the time is that you have to understand each person, their symptoms, what they're going through and what they want to get out of it. If he gave the wrong strain to the wrong person, they would have a mental breakdown. Just like you're talking about, saying 2 doctors and 2 nurses down there in Mexico with you. If you just do this on the street, you could have the mental breakdown. It's like recognizing that, just like any other, medicine or drug, if you're using it improperly in the wrong situation, then you can set yourself up for failure with that. I think that's the really interesting thing. And it's kind of eye-opening. I haven't actually read Immortality Key yet, Wiz, but it's been on my list for a little while since I heard about it. But when they talk about, and I'm blanking on the name of the city, I think you said it, where they would go with the oracles and everything to go on those journeys, there were oracles there who guided them through this. That's why, I always talk about Marcus Aurelius on the podcast because he's one of my favorite people to read about. He talks about, you can see a difference in his journals when he comes back from there, that he's not scared of death, that he understands that he needs to be working for the greater good of the entire empire, not just the people in his, not just the people he's working directly with. And I think it's just broadening the perspective of what these things can do, but just treating it in that vein of just like any other medicine or anything, or if you want to use drug in the broad sense of coffee being a drug too, and those type of things, that it'll work for some people and it won't work for others. And taking those bad examples to show it for the whole is never going to be productive. You have to take each one with a grain of salt. I mean, go back to my friend David, who is the medicinal marijuana caregiver. The only studies around marijuana, which is not very much, just like psychedelics and everything. One of the few things is that if you have schizophrenia, it can give you a full-on mental breakdown, and that's really bad. but there's so many people out there with anxiety and depression that it helps them a lot. And so it's like you have to be able to look at the full spectrum of them, just like anything else. Like there's people out there that if they took Advil, they could have some serious issues probably. Then there's other people who that's what gets them through the day. And you just have to be able to recognize all those different aspects.
Yeah, news alert. I found this out when I went on the journey. I never knew this because let's just say I went to school in the 70s. So, I have a little bit of experience with marijuana. We won't go any further, but check this out. Okay. Can you imagine living your whole life and not knowing marijuana, THC is a hallucinogen? Mm-hmm. It's a plant and it's an illusion. So I'm like, I told Doc Martine, who's founded the Mission Within, I said, I'm listening to all these stories of what Whiz has said, and I'm reading all this stuff. And I said, I remember in college having some experiences and feeling like I was leaving my body and feeling this sense of God. And he goes, yeah, it's a hallucinogen. Mm-hmm. And so that really helped me. I haven't done the medicine yet. At the halfway point in the movie, I'm going to do the medicine, the first half without, second half with. Maybe I'll save that for just before we do the special effects part of the movie. I can't wait to do it. As a matter of fact, the pilots call me all the time. Slider called me, Whiz, you don't even know this. He called me the other day and he was kind of beating around the bush. Like, what are we talking about here? It's like, yeah, I did this, I did that. And then he goes, Leigh, are you seriously going to take the medicine? I said, hell yeah. Like, absolutely. Why wouldn't I? Why wouldn't I want to do it? And you're right, Cam, under supervision. Mm-hmm. Recreationally? No.
Yeah. Well, I want to, go ahead, Whiz. Nope. Hit it again, man. You're still muted.
That never gets old, I got to say. All these podcasts, 180 episodes, that never gets old.
I'm better with switchology in an airplane than on Zoom. But no, you nailed it, Cam. Those were all great points. We have a director of medicine operations who actually, there's a big intake process because you're right. This does not suit everybody. As you saw on How to Change Your Mind, Michael Pollan's like, with some psychedelic medicine, people who are near schizophrenia can push them right into the edge. Yeah. So this is why, this is done under supervision. It's fully, thought out, and this is not willy-nilly, and it's definitely not recreational. That's why the whole, McDonald's-ing of it or Starbucks-oving it is kind of making me frown a little bit, because and it's really interesting. I mean, we don't call No Fallen Heroes the God movie, but it again, delete the word God. What was it on Monday or whatever? The Webb, NASA or Tuesday, NASA released
James Webb Telescope.
13 billion years ago. Guess what? I saw that. I was already there. I saw all of that. That picture was not unfamiliar to me. I literally experienced all of that. I bring this up because even in all the books that I'm reading, even the strictest agnostic atheist, every one of them that have done the medicine, they won't use the word God, but they got connected to something, source, or whatever you want to call it. So
I think I was going to bring it back to, I think one of the funniest but most eye-opening passages in Marcus Aurelius's Meditations that I remember reading is there's this part where he's talking and he goes something on the lines of like, if that is due to God, then it is, or God, or nature, or logos, and he lists out like 10 things for it, because it's like we get wrapped around the word God and the word for these different things, whereas in reality they could all be the same thing, frankly, in those type of things. And if you move beyond just like getting wrapped around the word, then you can have a much better conversation about what whatever it is you're going through.
Correct. Exactly.
Awesome. Well, I want to slightly shift gears because I want y'all to share this trailer that we've been talking about. As we've talked about the movie, we've talked about the show and kind of how we got there. But I want our audience to get a taste of what you've put together and how powerful it is.
Let me set it up for you.
Please.
So what I'd like people to think about when they watch this is different from any other trailer you've ever seen, and it's different from any other trailer I've ever done. This represents a movie that has a purpose, that is connected to a business model, that is connected to an ecosystem. It's a movie that's a backdoor pilot to a TV series to scale a charity. And I would like everybody to watch this trailer through the lens of what makes everything you guys do, Tribe and Purpose, and this amazing podcast, which I happen to have done my research and know this is the 180th. That's not true. You told me before we started.
Oh, we were going to let you have that, Leigh. Don't worry.
Well, you can cut it out. I'll take it. So, but it's very, very important. You guys stand for something absolutely extraordinary. And Otis, you and I were texting or whatever it's called on LinkedIn. I don't even know, messaging on LinkedIn. And just in looking at everything you do, what you stand for, the difference you're making in the world for tribe and purpose, and all your core values, and giving people the opportunity to be a part of something, standing for nobody does it alone, that's everything we're all about. And the reason that I said yes to this movie and wanted to do that is that's what Whiz is about. He doesn't need to do this. He wants to do this. He woke up one day and said, this is my life's purpose. When he says the last 25% of my life, I haven't done the math on that. I don't know what that means. I guess you think you're planning to live till 105. Okay. Maybe with, who knows, psychedelics might increase anti-aging, but please look at this trailer. I'm going to cue it up knowing we have a fantastic movie that is the self-proclaimed sequel to Maverick. You will see the Top Gun-esque drama of it. And you will also see the story of what these real life heroes go through when they transition from the speed of sound and competing in dogfights, life and death dogfights. It's supersonic speed when they transition from the speed of sound to the speed of life.
Three, two, one.
Leigh, we'll need you go back a bit, and we'll have you share the screen.
Oh yeah, that would help.
Yeah.
Oh, good. I already made the note. We'll edit this 30 seconds out.
I don't feel that stressed because I know I gave you the throw. You guys will have to cut it up because
exactly
4 of us have no idea what we're doing.
Norman, work your magic.
All right, so I didn't even know I had the screen. All right, so I'm going to share the screen.
3, 2, 1. Lights on.
My name's Matthew Buckley. My call sign as a fighter pilot was Whiz. Served the United States Navy on active duty for 10 years and then flew fighters in the reserves for 6 years.
Being a fighter pilot for the United States Navy was the culmination of a dream. Dogfights at supersonic speed on the edge of consciousness. Life and death situations created stress, trauma, depression, anxiety, and fear. I was searching for an answer and I found it. Shockingly, it was psychedelic medicine.
The military does an incredibly good job of training you for combat and doing some pretty horrible stuff to another human being. And then when they're done with you, they do a pretty shitty job of transitioning you back to being a human. This plant medicine has been around for thousands and thousands of years.
It took me on a journey downrange with these 4 other incredible men, human beings, veterans.
As a result of the medicine, I literally found God.
I took the ibogaine. It was like I got lifted up and then I exploded into forever. I felt infinity.
What happens in this world is beyond logic. And when these heroes move from the speed of sound to the speed of life, the job really gets dangerous because so many of their wounds are invisible. Emotions get suppressed as a means of survival.
Daniel Summers, who served 2 tours in Iraq, took his own life. He was just 30 years old.
Sadly, he is not the first veteran to do so.
8,000 U.S. veterans commit suicide each year. That's an average of 22 per day.
We're here to tell you this is not the way out.
Literally 52 years of ego, of regret, shame, pain, death, alcohol, drugs, disintegrated in the blink of an eye. I exploded into light, energy, love, indescribable.
80% of the volunteers in that study reported that the experience was among the 5 most personally meaningful and spiritually significant experiences of their lives.
It was peace. It was a peace that I have never felt before. We're going to be saving lives. We're going to be changing attitudes. No higher purpose, no higher calling than helping your fellow woman, helping your fellow man.
On May 27th, with the opening of Maverick Top Gun, we step out of the cockpit into the real-life stories of decorated pilots.
We're going to heal everybody, not just veterans. Nobody's left behind.
Fallen heroes.
3, 1, let's go.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Can't wait to see it come out on the big screen.
Out of their way to make redeeming credit card rewards needlessly complicated, but discover as a life.
There we go. Yeah. So the power of that, the message that that you're portraying. Well, I've got so many things. I mean, from being willing to cry on camera, that, yeah, I'm sitting there thinking, I'm gripping my desk going, don't do it, dude. to sharing that story, you know, Leigh, when I see something like this and not knowing a whole lot about, you know, your industry, but this has to be, there's something different here in how you're taking on the story. I'm seeing it in you personally, and how this is changing you. Am I picking that up right?
100%. You know, I feel like my passion here has been always from day one is to support the vision of Whiz. And I didn't serve, but I feel like this is my opportunity to serve, to bring red, white, and blue into perspective, to make a difference. We live in a metrics-driven society. There's 22 veteran suicides a day. 5 years from now, we're going to see 1. We want to see that number change. And we were handed a gift. Whiz alluded to it earlier. This feels like a Top Gun movie. As a matter of fact, at our premiere, we played this and we played Top Gun. And shockingly, some people told me we want to see more of this. Many people said we like this better. It's real. Yeah. So it's changed me because it gives me the opportunity to create a extremely commercial project. I mean, the extended trailer and even the 20-minute clip we put together for our angel investors, which is an important thing to talk about on this call, where we are with the movie and the funding. Mm-hmm. You know, it really creates a Top Gun-esque environment that you can really feel the truth and authenticity of this. Yes, it's absolutely been amazing for me. My background is in sports, in the combat sports arena. So I've always dealt with storytelling with people who are real. I've scaled brands to, hundreds of millions of dollars with the truth of their story and what they did. So I gravitated to this, and I'm paying forward the skill sets to everything that's real about this. And I've got all the excitement of a Top Gun movie. I've got supersonics, jets. As a matter of fact, Whiz is a pretty smart guy. He's a very, very smart guy. When I walked in for our first meeting, when we decided to do this, I had no idea. He said, "Hello, here's your flight suit." And I was like, I already had the thought, there's no way I'm getting to make this movie with him if I don't get in that plane. And it absolutely blew my mind. But it also instantly gave me the vision, instantly. Multiply that times thousands, then make it real, not, hey, let's go have some fun for 40 minutes. It's terrifying. It's terrifying to imagine what these guys went through. So yes, it's changed me, and I believe it will change people. And I also believe it'll really entertain people. And then I'll leave it with this. So we're reaching out to so many different people to get this movie funded. We're talking to Hollywood agents, we're talking to influencers, we're talking to angels, we're talking to just wealthy people that believe in this cause. I don't mind saying, that we've reached out to Bob Parsons, hoping for him to respond to us, and many other great people. And, I believe that people will respond to this because of its authenticity. And when we spoke to the Hollywood agents, what they said to us about this piece is they said, the documentary space right now is robust. And what do people want? Character-driven stories that are specific in purpose and ideology. There's nothing more specific than 5 guys that are willing to go on the most dangerous mission within, and it's the most dangerous mission of all, the mission within. Yeah.
There's one question. I think this is more so for you, Whiz, but I also think, anyone, all 4 of us might be able to chime in on this. We talk about, bottling up traumatic events and the stress and all these different things. And there's this metaphor I love around that, it's a wound, just like anything else when you have something like that happen. And it's important to put a bandage over the wound so you can keep moving. And then it's also important to take off that bandage and scrub it clean, and it's going to freaking hurt. And then you put that Band-Aid back on and you keep moving. And I guess what I want to throw to you is I guess with inside of that metaphor, do you think that that's the right balance that people should be looking for? Where, because there is kind of, I guess the economist in me is like, we need there is a realistic reason to bottle things up so you can go to work the next day and you can keep moving and keep your life together. But then there's also that need to deal with it. So I guess, how do you balance those two, Whiz?
Yeah, well, you're right. With any sort of trauma, there's triage, right? You have to treat the wound immediately or you're going to drop dead. But if you do not, at some point in your life, make a conscious effort to sit down and heal all that stuff, hell, you might die young of a heart attack. I mean, stress manifests itself, right? I've never felt better in my life. I mean, when I was 27, flying off the USS Kitty Hawk at the top of the world, I thought I was. That's not even close to how I feel now. Before I did the medicine, man, I was hurtling down a path. I didn't think it was that bad, but to self-destruction, right? So if you never, if you never deal with it, man, it's going to manifest itself in just bad ways. Drinking, drugs, self-destructive behaviors, or like I said, it's going to put you into an early grave. I've never felt better. And there's a great quote at the front of the Immortality Key. It says, "Die before you die." I don't want this to shock people, but when I did the 5-MeO DMT, I died. I absolutely died. Now, of course, my director of medicine, she's like, "Can you say that a little nicer, differently, so you really don't freak people?" but I had ego death. I absolutely went from E. Matthew, Buckley, Whiz to immediately all 50 years of all this ego and all the shit disappeared, literally, like you heard, in the blink of an eye. And I became one with source. I have never, that was bliss, ecstasy, whatever those words can't even describe that feeling. And it was interesting because when I kind of came out of my 5-MeO experience, Doc was there and Cynthia, one of our counselors, and Marcus was at the head of the bed. And later he reminded me, he's like, do you remember what you said? You know, the first words out of your mouth. I'm like, no. He's like, you said, this is freedom. This is what freedom feels like. And I'm like, oh my God. And then he said, and make sure you tell your wife this, he said, I can't wait to tell Susie I love her forever because I finally know what that is. I actually, and again, this will blow your mind, I actually felt forever. Because I got into, it was funny. I got into this computer loop with God. Because when God revealed himself, and I'm like, dude, where you been type of thing. He's like, I've always been and I will always be. I'm like, no. But you're not listening to me, God. Listen, who made you and where? So this took God was very gentle throughout my journey. Whenever I didn't get something, boom, it happened. So of the third round of, no, listen to me, man. How have you always been? I physically went into, I felt it. I went forever. It was absolute. I got it.
I want to jump in here and just say something to you guys, which is so important. And Wiz, you can continue, please. Is that here's why this is such a great story to tell. You have the most courageous, the most hardened, the most risk-taking people who live in life and death, okay? Having experiences, the military, we see these guys in movies, you know, they're badasses, right? They kill people. You know, the military has taught you guys to kill, right? That's what they've taught you to do. And we have guys saying everything he just said. It's okay to tell your wife, I love her forever. It's okay to actually believe in God and talk about it and be a man of God. That's okay.
Yeah.
Dude, that inspires me. That, you know, you asked, why did I get involved with this? I want to. How life has changed, my God consciousness, the books I read. I went on a Joe Dispenza meditation and I'm like calling Wiz on speed dial and giving him downloads for the movie. And, you know, I was changed. You know, to have permission to cry, which you said, Otis, to have permission to let go. Can you imagine? I give you, it's like, you know, that crazy movie, you know, beautiful movie Steven Spielberg made, Schindler's List, where the guy's going, I pardon you. I pardon you. So it's kind of like, you know, I forgive you. Me? You forgive me, God? Wow.
Yeah.
I give you permission to be real. I give you permission to talk about your feelings. I give you permission to love someone forever.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Wow. That's a story that needs to be told.
Yeah. It's interesting because when I went in on some of my intentions for the medicine was forgiveness, right? For my failings as a man, a father, a husband type of thing. And when I said that to God, he kind of looked at me and shrugged like, seriously, son, you are forgiven. And there's a great book right over there on my bookshelf. It's called A Course in Miracles. And there's a passage in there that really strikes me. It says, forgiveness is a foreign concept in heaven because the need for it does not exist. Forgiveness is a human construct. You don't have to ask God for forgiveness. It's duh. What's your problem? So this self, you know, flagellating that we do is all for naught. And it changed my life to actually experience the feeling of source, truth, divine, or God being like, it's all good, son. Now let's go look at some really other stuff we got to cover. It was shocking to me because I thought I was going to the gallows, man. And God, you know, and as a lifelong, you know, as a recovering Catholic, man, God's a dude on a throne and you don't piss him off, man. You miss church on Sunday, Edward Matthew, it's a mortal sin. Like, you burn in fire forever. I'm like, holy shit. That ain't the God that I connected to. It was the exact opposite. So
yeah, you talk about tribe and purpose. Mm-hmm. One of the hopes, please ask me one of the many hopes that I my aspirations for people take away from this is that they say they find their tribe, they find their purpose, and if they need healing and they're in pain, they reach out. And we want to be here. And the other thing is, one of the reasons why Whiz and I stand for we're in collaboration, not cooperation, is in doing this film, we stand for every single veteran organization that wants to help people, and every single organization that wants to help people in general. And we are elevating and having military heroes. They don't see themselves as heroes, but we do. Mm-hmm. I do. That is, I could get emotional saying it. That is what Thich Nhat Hanh said. I don't know the quote either. Maybe you and I should memorize this quote. Maybe we should pull it up and read it to him.
No, I have it. Yeah. So I used to have it memorized. So you ready? It's veterans are the light at the tip of the candle, illuminating the way for the whole nation. If veterans can achieve awareness, transformation, understanding, and peace, they can share with the rest of society the realities of war. And they can teach us how to make peace with ourselves and each other, so we never have to use violence to resolve conflicts again. And you guys really want to be blown away? Check this out. So I had respected this Buddhist monk, and for years I had read and everything like that. Friday night, when we did the medicine at our fire ceremony, the 5 of us took our medicine and we went upstairs to begin our journey. Leigh couldn't tell me this. He waited until Monday. But in our fire ceremony,
they take their phones away. So they have no connection to the outside world.
Nothing. You're done for days, man. Thich Nhat Hanh died. He passed away in our fire ceremony, starting our journey. And I mean, the odds of that are, well, the odds were 100%, but the odds are just insanely. So I believe that he passed the torch. I got it, man.
And he was in all our materials. Keep in mind, Whiz put this guy in our materials as the lead thing, and all the investors. Every time we talked about this product, the first thing you saw was him. So we had already called it in as the symbolic, Whiz, the symbolism for what we stand for.
I was blown away. We crossed the border back from Mexico, and they let me know, and I was just I was blown away, but I was actually happy. Old me, I talk about old me, would have been cry. I could not have been more happy, because I actually know where he is, and he's everywhere. So that blew me away. Leigh's right. He's in our pitch deck. I was always talking about him. And then Monday, I thought they were messing with me. I'm like, he died when you guys did your fire ceremony. I'm like, okay, that's it. I mean, it's just, if God's, now he's hitting me with a bat with signs, he's not being subtle anymore. So yeah, I could not be more fired up. I love talking about this. Obviously, I'm very passionate about this because it literally it changed my life. It saved my life. It changed my marriage. My father. I had a half a second of sadness. Let me tell you a quick story. So one of our kind of partners that we who has helped us out a little bit, his name's Daniel Carsillo. He was a Blackhawk and a Philadelphia Flyer. Horrific brain trauma. He got out before his mind died, and he owns a company called Wisana, who's trying to MDMA for head injury. But anyway, short story long, he's sitting with me and my wife, my beautiful bride Susie, and my 3 kids. 2 of my boys that play hockey, because obviously they wanted to meet him, and my beautiful daughter Keely. They were all sitting there, and he was just asking me a bunch of questions about the medicine and everything like that. And then he looked at them and said, "Do you guys see a difference?" And I had a half a second of fear. I'm like, oh my God. And a little bit of sadness as well, because of the looks on their face. I'm like, whoa. And it took Keely to be the bravest one. She looked at me and she said, and I'm tearing up right now. She said, "He's better." And it made me feel so happy. A little sad that I didn't know I was such a shit or just an awful person or whatever it was. But the fact that my kids were like, he's better. I'm like, holy shit, man. Thank you, God, for fixing it now, Yeah. So no regrets. I'm always be present or anything like that. But the biggest metric of the success for this was looking in my daughter's eyes when she said that. So if I can put the ladder down and help somebody to get that type of healing, if this is work, sign me up to do this for the rest of my life. I'm in, man.
That's awesome. Man. Yeah, I'm sitting here thinking the things that I've learned today, and I tell you the most blatantly obvious to me, because Whiz, you're the first guy I've talked to that's done this, because I've read about it and various people have said some things and but you're the first guy that I would with similar backgrounds that I would say, okay, so this ain't some hocus pocus, BS. And I think to me, that's an amazing thing. And to just have that reality and understanding of a tool that exists to heal people and how simple that is. For me, that's what I'm taking, and that's what I learned. Camden, how about you? What'd you learn?
Yeah, a lot, just like you. But really what I think it goes back to is Leigh, you said this, talking about, doing this work through veterans and then what that means for the rest of the world. And then, I guess not a metaphor, but the Buddhist quote, messing up my words on that, but talking about how the most damaged people can show you a new perspective on things and how much that can mean for the rest of the population, and just how eye-opening that is of, if I think there's this like such a, it's kind of a foo-foo thing. I would still even say that, but of the idea of like world peace, and like we want these things, these really like ambitious things. And then there's something that is in, a lot of Stoicism, a lot of Buddhism, Taoism, all these different things where it's it starts internally. And I don't think I had really put that to the world peace question before, of if you come to peace with yourself and, you're happy with where you are in your life. And then if you teach other people that, how positive an effect that can have, and how the ripple effect of that is such an amazing thing. And I don't know if it can reach world peace, but it can sure do a hell of a lot.
Beautiful.
Damn. So I got to be honest with you guys. Year and a half ago, before I did the medicine, if Putin had invaded Ukraine a year and a half ago, I would have swam across the Atlantic to pick up a rifle, or I would have paid for me to go through MiG-29 training. I'd be flying for the Ukrainian Air Force, killing as many Russians as I can. I have got to tell you now, I feel like shit that this is going on. I see souls. I see a young Ukrainian. I see a young Russian soldier getting turned into hair, teeth, and eyeballs, and it breaks my heart. I'm no super pacifist right now, but I was out with Marcus Luttrell last month, and we were both just, that you want to talk about a warfighter mediator type of guy. He's like, dude, I feel the same way. So, and this is tough. This was tough to realize, right? Because people, trust me, Vladimir Putin, my God, scum on earth, everything like that. The guy still has a soul, even though you can't see it. God loves your enemy just as much as you. And that's a new me talking. That ain't an old me, man. I was trained to, shoot Soviets and kill them and evil and shit like that. But yeah, man, Cam, you really nailed it. There is, Timothy Leary probably went a little too far with some of this shit. Like, hey, we need to put this in the water type of thing. But I kind of know what he was getting at, but wrong message, wrong delivery vehicle, but type of right message. The more people that can heal, again, whether it's meditation, yoga, whatever it is, or with this medicine, I guarantee you, if I could kidnap Putin and make him do the medicine, this shit would be over with in a day. I guarantee you that that would happen. So, Cam, I think you put it right through the bullseye.
Isn't that another Buddhist phrase, something along the lines of like, I don't know if it's you can't love yourself until you learn how to love like the most evil person. Like that is, if you have to love them just like you would love anyone else.
Yeah, no, and that is again, man. 5 years ago, if he heard me say this, I'd kick my own ass. But this is not, that dude's dead, and thank God he is. Real quick, I think I broke the cycle. My father, like we talked about, died of a broken heart. My dad didn't know what the hell the word meditation probably even meant. But the fact that I've done this and my children know about mindfulness or meditation or this was another foo-foo saying that I didn't believe before I did the medicine, but I absolutely believe it now. They say with the medicine, you can heal 3 generations. I'm telling you guys, when I saw my sister and my father, I had never seen him as they were angelic, and I felt his happiness. I healed, but my dad was healed. I saw it. And now look at my kids. The fact that my kids know about this or anything like that. Now my grandkids and I've broken the cycle, hopefully, for generational trauma, or at least I'm gonna freaking try. Leigh and I have talked about this with, a veteran kills themselves, man. Just the ripple effect and the horror, the absolute horror that causes. Imagine just stopping one death. What that butterfly effect, So yeah, I'm just, you guys know me, I'll sit here for hours, so I can't talk anymore because you guys will kill me. But I am just so that the fact that my sons meditate now, or my daughter Keely, or anything like that, man, I will one day be able to see the effects of this and just sit there wherever I end up going and seeing my sister and my father and knowing that we've made a difference and we've done some good. What did I learn today? I learned that Cam reads Marcus Aurelius, and that's pretty cool.
I know. I think, how many times I think that whenever he quotes something, it's like, damn, I wish I would have discovered that book when I was 26 years old. So
never too late.
It's a 2,000-year-old book, Dad. Come on.
I know. It wasn't in my library. How about you, Leigh? What'd you learn?
Well, oh man, I'm going to keep it short, which is not my nature. So what I've learned, something you guys need to understand, everything you've seen, you go to the website, your listeners and viewers will go to the website. All of this began with a guy with a vision, Matthew Buckley, who had a life-changing experience in this entire thing, which is, a third of a movie that's done. A website, a movement, people investing in us, more people lining up to invest. It all started by one idea, the law of attraction, and us deciding to speak this into existence. We are speaking into existence, eradicating veteran suicide and changing people's lives and letting everyone feel that they can ask for help. So when I'm on a podcast, which has TV component, and I'm part of a group that's changing lives, and it's called Tribe and Purpose, I say to myself, the law of attraction is working. This is exactly what now I'm gonna cry. This is exactly, but I have to give all the credit, to Whiz. This is what he wanted. And I said, yes, let's scale it. The guy scaled 2 companies to $1 billion, started companies with 100 employees that had 600. And, so I said, let's go big, because let's go fast, because time is wasting. So when I get on a podcast, I go, the law of attraction, standing for what you believe and attracting the tribe and purpose, and what you guys do in the world is the most important thing I learned. 2 things: always go for what you believe in your life. And please, don't ever be afraid to get help. Reach out. If these courageous men can go on the most dangerous mission of all, and the mission within, we all can.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. What's the best way for people to get more info, support the movie's release? What's that next thing that you need to push from?
Well, I'll go first. I'll let Whiz close it. So we're being funded right now. We're in a funding stage. So we're reaching out to people. We had a beautiful group of angels that said yes to us. And now we're looking for the finishing funds for the movie. Go to our website, sign up. There's phone numbers on there. Look to be involved, and, reach out to us. We're easy to find, but we are we're just kind of overwhelmed. I don't mind saying this. We presented our work to, William Shatner went up into space. And the next thing I know, talk about speaking things into existence. Maybe there's a funny metaphor here. He went out into space, and I guess if you do psychedelics, you go into space. But his wife, Liz Shatner, is very philanthropically oriented. And I'm just so blessed that I'll be having a conversation with her. She saw all these materials. A dear, dear friend of ours, Julie Hamilton, presented it to her. And she said, let's have a conversation. And, these things just lead to people, lead to things. It's 7 degrees of separation as we continue to speak this into existence. So reach out to us and, become a part of our tribe and our purpose, just like this beautiful, this beautiful movement that you guys stand for.
Awesome.
Whiz, you get to close the show.
Yeah, folks, my email is Whiz, WHIZ at nofallenheroes. .com. You got questions, concerns, somebody's interested. I'm here, man. I love this. I love being a resource. If this speaks to you, let me know. And I can, if you have questions about the medicine, Nicole at nofallenheroes.com is our director of medicine ops. She can tell you about the places we use and answer all sorts of questions. If you think somebody who would be interested or is having problems, please speak up. Let us know. Make sure you follow us on Instagram. Obviously, No Fallen Heroes on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and stuff like that, because we're posting a lot of our content as we go. Leigh's doing a great job splicing up stuff, and we're going to be putting out little snippets as we go and breadcrumbs to kind of build up anticipation to it. So reach out to us on social media as well. But gents, thanks for having us. This was awesome. Whenever I get a chance to, and you know what, real quick, I wrote that in my journal. So the day after you do the ibogaine, they're like, that we call it a gray day. They're like, don't call it a gray day. It's exploration day, but it's just kind of you're just taking it in. Right. And I wrote down, and they're like, just write, because months later you might recognize what it meant in big letters on one of those pages. And like, kind of looks like chicken scratch because it was a gray day. I wrote the word apostle. And now I know what that means. So I am going forth to spread the word. So I appreciate it, fellas, giving us a platform to talk to your tribe. And now we're all in the same squadron. So thanks for having us. I appreciate it.
No, this has been great, guys.
Tell me the name of that cigar.
Yeah, I will. I really do appreciate y'all's time, sharing, educating us, educating our audience, man. This is it's an unbelievable movement and a powerful mission. And I'm proud to know y'all, proud to have y'all on the show. This has been great. Camden, run us out.
All right. Thank y'all for listening to the Cam and Otis show. And a special thanks to our guests, Leigh Simons and Matthew Buckley, for joining us today. And of course, our sponsor, Tribe and Purpose. Find your tribe, find your purpose. Get started for free today at findyourpurpose.coach. Make sure to follow the Cam and Otis show on Instagram and Facebook. And please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you're listening. Videos of the podcast are on our YouTube page. And you can always get a full archive of the episodes at thecamandotisshow.buzzsprout.com. Thanks again, and we'll see y'all next time.